Greetings and welcome back to room 303 in our Talks with Walt, as we are calling our readings through the deathbed edition of Walt Whitman's Leaves of Grass. We turn now to the little poem Mannahatta, which is poem number 1 of the 58 of Sands at 70. Think about the fact that the word sands gets used, and starting from Paumanok 13 was somebody asking to see the soul, and then he literally will mention the sands as being a part of that. Or as I ebbed in the ocean of life, a few sands of dead leaves together. It's wonderful that he joins sands and leaves together. So we are now about to address the first of the 58 poems of Sands at 70, the first annex as we've called it. Now our assumptions are that you've been following our stuff at learnstrong.net, down that left-hand side, Talks with Walt, our playlist, and that you've been with us every bit from the very beginning inscriptions up to and including a set of introductory comments for Sands at 70 that we've already given. Now, our Nortons will tell us that this poem was first published in the New York Herald, February 27th, 1888, with the third line unitalicized. Of course, as you're reading it with me now in the deathbed edition, you will see that it is in fact italicized. Now, you will remember that Mannahatta is a poem already in Leaves of Grass, From Noon to Starry Night. You'll remember, it's the only other time that in the title Mannahatta gets used. You'll remember Mannahatta from Me and Perturb, starting from Paumanok number 1, where he'll call it at the very beginning Mannahatta, of course Manhattan, my city. You'll remember it as well. It was charged against me, and as well Crossing Brooklyn Ferry 9. So Mannahatta, of course, Whitman is the great poet of New York, and we've commented in earlier poems about his love of New York, and now he will call it my city. Only he'll say it this way: my city's fit and noble name resumed, choice aboriginal name, with marvelous beauty, meaning a rocky founded island, shores wherever gaily dash the coming, going, hurrying sea waves. Now, notice right away this construction that he will say it's my city, and he'll say that it's a fit and a noble name, Mannahatta. It's interesting that the first 3 poems of Sands at 70 are a going back to a very early time. He uses the term aboriginal. Original is the meaning of aboriginal. So we've got Mannahatta, we've got Paumanok, and we've got From Montauk Point. So it's fascinating that here at the end of Leaves of Grass, we're going all the way back to the early naming of places. And of course, the power of names in Leaves of Grass, we've commented on the fact that in the 1855 edition, Whitman didn't even put his name on the cover page. Of course, in Song of Myself, he mentions himself by name. So names matter. My city's fit and noble name resumed. In other words, he says, I want to go back to the very beginning. Choice aboriginal name, and he'll play this same game in the Mannahatta poem of Noon to Starry Night with marvelous beauty. I'm fascinated by the fact that here we are at the end of Leaves of Grass. We're reading these final poems in the first and later second annex, and we're still being met with words that never have been used yet in Leaves of Grass. For example, marvelous. Only used. The only time it gets used in all Leaves of Grass is right here. Of course, he's talking about the beauty and the meaning of this word, and then he italicizes to give us the definition. And in the process of defining Mannahatta, he is as well going to celebrate it. A rocky founded island. Of course, it's interesting that he uses rocky. Already, the city, New York and Manhattan, have this gritty kind of understanding. It's one that, of course, all of us as New Yorkers love, right? Rocky founded island, and then the dash. Shores, think about his use of the word shores already in Leaves of Grass. Shores, wherever gaily dash the coming. 5 times in Leaves of Grass the word gaily gets used. Of course, dashing, we've seen this. And I told you about his use of the word come as the very first word of Leaves of Grass. And so here it's dash, the coming, comma, going, comma, hurrying sea waves. Of course, the waves are one of the powerful metaphors and motifs in Leaves of Grass, as we have said over and over again. Well, what is it that we're going to say here at 2A? Well, I think the argument is that we should always celebrate where we come from. and know why we celebrate where we come from. At 2B, I love the Aboriginal name that's being used, the celebration, and yet at the same time it's complicated, isn't it? Because those individuals that originally provided the name Mannahatta, they didn't know what was about to happen, as did anyone that was involved as they arrived from Europe. And obviously there's tragedy that's involved in triumph as well. Triumph is his word. At 3A, I love that my city is the phrase, and that later in 1914, of course, Sandburg in his classic Chicago will call it my city, borrowing obviously from a poem like this. I've given a full lecture at learnstrong.net on Chicago. Finally, at 3B, just to own a little poem like this, what is your city of choice that you celebrate? And how much of the original name, the Aboriginal name, are you familiar with? I think one of the things Whitman loves to do is to remind us there's always more to learn. There's always more to learn. Thank you.